Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to see so many people joining us this morning. We've got people from Europe down under and from all over North America. So thank you so much. Obviously, this topic struck a chord with you. The idea of having a breakthrough from overwhelm and struggle in your life to opening up to operating with ease and grace and the freedom to just be in the chaos that surrounds us. So we're going to be talking about that through the week. There'll be 5 sessions, and this is the first one. And we're going to be talking about why it's important to do this and some things you can do to get started. So before we start that, though, let's take a moment to just get our feet on the floor. One of the things about struggle is that you'll notice as we begin to do this program is that you can't struggle and be present. You can't be overwhelmed and be present. So if you're fully in your body and in your senses, then you're fully present. You're not struggling. You're not in overwhelm. So let's just take a moment to feel our feet on the ground. Maybe softly let your eyes go closed. And notice your breath. Let's take a couple nice deep breaths. Breathing in, pausing, and releasing on the out breath. And just a few breaths to just release whatever it took for you to get here this morning or this evening, this afternoon, depending on where you are. Just let all that go for right now. And feel your feet on the floor. And just do a little check-in to your body. Relaxing and breathing into any place there's any tension. And really opening up your senses. As you breathe in, just notice your sense of smell and any fragrances in the room. And smell deeply as you breathe deeply. Open your hearing so you're really listening for the quietest sound. I'm here, I can hear the waves and the ocean and the sound of the fire. Just listening deeply. Notice any thoughts. Just let them go by. Any feelings or emotions. Much of this change will come from us being able to allow what's there to be there and just be present. One more time, just scanning through the body, feeling any places you might be holding, adding some breath, releasing, letting go. And then softly opening your eyes and bringing yourself back. As I said, welcome. It's so good to have you here with us this morning. This is a topic I've been really looking at over the past year as I noticed myself talking about how busy I was and how full my life was. And as I was looking at and speaking to other people who were scurrying about, multitasking, and the comment was always, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed. And I want to look this morning at the cost of our busyness and the cost of being in overwhelm and struggling with that. So why do we think this is important? Why do I think it's important? And I suspect you think it's important. Because we're missing our life, basically. That's the bottom line. Inside of the struggle and the chaos, we're really not present. Presence is here. Mostly we're not. So the distractions that are happening with this terminal busyness that we live in are really costing us a lot. First of all, we're not able to really expand into a spiritual awakening. We look at it as someplace to get to rather than it's an expansion. And when we're in this struggling state of overwhelm, we're really in a contracted state of consciousness, of awareness. And what the world needs right now is us to be here to meet the challenges of our time, the social justice, environmental, spiritual, political, all the issues that are up are really dependent on our awakening. So through this week, I'm going to be working with the different aspects of struggle and overwhelm. As I said today, I mainly want to point them out, some of the ways that we get ourselves into overwhelm. For instance, many of us are really affected by the chaos that's around us, the rapid pace of change that we're having to confront. And we put a huge amount of attention on what we can't change. And we miss the opportunity to actually make an impact on the areas we can change. In other words, to tap into our soul's longing, our soul's purpose, and to have our gifts and our strengths and our talents utilized for having a better life, more productive life, happier, more fulfilled life for ourselves, but really for the healing of the planet and our relationship with the web of life. So when we make an expanded jump in our own life and move out of these contracted states, like the chaos that we find ourselves in, there's chaos in the world, but that doesn't mean we need to be chaotic. Another issue that is important is to recognize that a lot of us feel really isolated and alone, like somehow we don't belong. We're caught in this trance of unworthiness. And that's one of the things that's very available to us by stepping into a place of presence and out of this overwhelm and effort and struggle that we find ourselves caught in. Another is just the opportunity to feel how we belong to the world and how our relationship to the world opens us up to the world. So in this process for the next week, we'll be looking at how to move from these contracted states that are a function of the myth of separation. And the myth of separation is that we see ourselves as separate from our body, separate from each other, separate from the world, separate from the way of life. This is at the heart of our struggle and our overwhelm. So when we reconnect with our body and ourselves and each other and the world, in a place of presence, we actually can act effectively and powerfully in the face of change. So that's what we're going to be working with throughout the week. I'm going to try to keep these to somewhere around 10 minutes. One of the things to begin to look at is that there's a payoff and a cost to being in struggle and being in overwhelm. The payoff often is that we don't have to take the risk to stand out and make a courageous stand for the things that our soul is really calling, what really wants to be expressed in us. It's a huge cost. It costs us our life. And the payoff is that, but the cost is what? It's our aliveness, it's our self-expression, it's our joy, it's our creativity. It's really the opportunity to be fully expressed in the world. So I'm going to keep it short today. I've got a little bit of work for you to do during the week, or play if you like. One of them is that I want you to take on a project, or in Canada we call it a project. Whichever you call it, we want to look at the project as a finding something where we struggle, where we have a lot of effort, so that we can through the week measure the difference. So one way to measure it, and I'm going to invite you to do this, is to, when you get in a contracted state, I invite you to get a journal and write down, what does it feel like? What's your experience of being contracted in life? To be small and not fully present and not fully connected to the world. And what's it like when you are really expansive and out in the world? begin to notice that in your body, your thoughts, your feelings, and jot that down so you can tell the difference between when you're in a contracted, struggling, overwhelmed state and when you're in actually a state of grace and ease and effortlessly unfolding into life. So, several things I'd like to ask you to do this week. So one is to get yourself a project. The other is to join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you be part of this week and to communicate with others around the world in how you're meeting the challenge of overwhelm and struggle and how you're stepping out of that and into a new story for living a life you love. The other thing is that please do comment. If you like the work we're doing here, share it with your friends. Let's build a global community here. I don't know how large Facebook can get, but I know there's some pretty big groups. So let's continue to expand outward from this group. And the other thing is to sign up for the masterclass. The masterclass will be this Friday at 5 o'clock, this coming Friday. After we do the Friday in the morning, we'll have an evening 2-hour masterclass. And then on Saturday morning for our European friends and people in the other time zones, we're doing one at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So you can sign up just below on that. So again, let's just take a pause. And throughout the day, I invite you to just stop every once in a while and take 3 deep breaths. Notice your surroundings. And just take a break from being in struggle and overwhelm. Remember, it's you that makes the difference. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Many blessings, my friends.